Ladies and gentlemen, it's March 2024. Country's on fire. There's no water. There's no electricity. Crime is out of control. Unemployment rate's out of control. But you know what? There is a silver lining. At least it's not London.
And I know you'd be thinking of that and thinking, what on earth is it on about? Well, my friends, there's a homecoming revolution of sorts where South Africans who moved to Europe and especially to England a decade or two ago are now thinking to themselves, South Africa is burning, but, it's probably much better to live there than it is currently in England. And for us, this is a phenomenal shift because for the longest period of time, we've been saying, don't emigrate, especially to Europe, because Europe is a bit shit. And it looks like we have been vindicated.
A recent report showed that 30% of those South Africans that have left are returning. Ramon, that's a substantial figure. 30% of people is not small.
Well, there are estimates that close to 2 million people have left South Africa since 1994. So 30% of that is 600,000 people coming back. Very big. But, fundamentally, the world has changed so much that the goals and aspirations of those who left South Africa while moving to London, for example, those goals and aspirations haven't really been met because London is sort of officially a shithole. Always has been, in my eyes, but has become more of a shithole than ever before.
That may very well be the case. And you know what, Ramon, I would actually agree with you on that front. I would agree that London is not the same place that it once was, even to the Brits. In fact, Ramon, London used to be well known for a group of people called the Cockneys. The Cockneys are now extinct in London. They don't exist. That's an entire group of people that are native to the United Kingdom that have been made extinct by mass immigration, and that has occurred in the last 20 years. So any individual that would be on that side of the pond going, it's not the same, would be entirely correct. You see, Ramon, the reason this becomes curious is that a lot of individuals who cite the reasons for leaving are because, they had their auntie that moved there in 2001 or 2004, and they did all right. They did quite well. The kids went to school and they bought a house and they did yada, 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 something. And the biggest problem, Ramon, is not 2020. It's not 2004 anymore. It's 2024, and the world has changed. And now what we are seeing is that a number of individuals that did go are going, this isn't the place we came to. And individuals that are now going are going, this isn't the place that we were promised. And so inevitably, they're coming home, mate.
They are coming home. And I think the beauty of South Africa is you can live off-grid. And I'm not talking about water and electricity, which are just like physical senses of being off-grid. I'm talking about social, psychological, spiritual. You can live in your home very comfortably, go within a 10-kilometer radius, be in a very much a first world country in most of the major cities in South Africa, never having to worry about government nonsense. But in London or in Germany or in Austria or even in bloody well Australia, government nonsense is all around. And it's very difficult to switch off from that because those governments are very bureaucratic. They want to enforce all sorts of bullshit bylaws and they want you to, comply with whatever they want you to comply with. Whereas in South Africa, yes, the country's on fire and, things aren't looking so rosy at the moment. You're still able to go off-grid socially, spiritually, psychologically, and of course, physically. And I think that is not available in many countries around the world.
Because the problem is, Ramon, that a lot of these individuals are sold a better life abroad. But they're not really sure why they're sold a better life abroad. And part of the reason that they are sold a better life abroad is basically because there's a significant amount of marketing companies in South Africa that specialize in immigration to abroad. So would you know, Ramon, these individuals are suffering degrees of mass marketing for business opportunities to go abroad for better economic opportunities, only to find that when they get there, isn't really what they were promised. So the net result is, would you know it, they're coming home. Now, the reason I highlight this to you, Ramon, is because if you look at BizTech Today actually released an article. And it was written by a guy who specializes in immigration, but the article actually attempts to be fair. And it's a bit weird because what it basically says, accountants looking to leave South Africa. That's the headline. And if you read it, it tells you the reason that these accountants are looking to leave is because there is a global shortage of accountants, or global shortage of talent. In the very same article, right at the bottom, they basically say, yeah, but there's a lot of people now that are accountants that are actually suffering a reverse immigration trend and coming back to South Africa. And they actually state that the places they're coming back to are places like Cape Town, the Western Cape, and some suburbs of, well, where you live. Isn't that kind of curious? It's kind of like two articles in one. One's like, you should all move, and but everybody's coming back. Why do you suppose that is the case?
Well, because it is decreasing. So even, those who have written the test of competence, which is a test you need to practice as an accountant overseas, I mean, that has decreased dramatically from 3,800 people in 2021 to 2,900 in 2022. And no doubt it's actually lower now, since 2023. But it looks like, I think, for a large part, people have moved overseas. They were promised something. Maybe they were promised more money, more freedom, more safety. And essentially what they figured out was, let me just stick around 5 years for a damn passport, just in case I need a plan B. And while I'm waiting for this passport, I'll get proper money in pounds, right? Which is still a proper currency. It's the only proper thing about the Great Britain at the moment is the pound. But after 5 years, we've seen those videos where people are like, I moved to Ireland 10 years ago and I don't have a single friend. It's really difficult. Can't have a braai. Can't see the sunshine. Like, it's really shit. After a while, you're like, I can live in misery in London while being safe, or I can just move back, knowing full well that if I sell my house, I can buy a mansion in Bantry Bay and continue doing what I'm doing. Work from home scenario. It's a no-brainer for me.
It may be a no-brainer for you, Ramon, but there is actually a degree, I suppose, of problem in your logic there. And that is that inevitably some of these individuals go abroad because they are sold a safer life. Mate, London ain't that safe anymore. That's the big problem. And inevitably, one of the things that you find is that if you ask an individual why they feel that a location is very unsafe, I'll tell you what I read in the news. Ask any individual that you know personally who is moving to Australia, South Africa, moving to Australia, England, or New Zealand. Ask them if they read the local news. Ask them. And the answer will inevitably be no. Because inevitably they are sold a better life through propaganda. Because the propagandists tell you it will be better. And yes, we all know that auntie that went there in 2000 and she did great. It's not 2000 anymore. It's 2024. And the world ain't safe anymore, mate.
It really isn't. But in South Africa, it can become a lot safer if you have the know-how. And more importantly, because you are able to make your life a lot safer here than in most places in the world. So the brain regain is excellent news for this country, and we should welcome more of them.